we'd like to get this regular meeting scheduled. Welcome. Thank you all for joining us. We'd like to stand for a moment of silence, and if you all can keep in your thoughts and prayers Jacob Likens, who we lost this week. Moment of silence. Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'd like to review of the agenda.
I have some changes I'd like to make. Can we table items 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, number 16, 18, 20, 22, 23, item number 28, and remove items 24 and 25. Uh-huh. Yes. 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 16, 18, 20, 22, 23, 28, and 24 and 25 will just be removed.
Any other changes to the agenda?
I would like to add 3A, B, and C. Consider approval of personnel actions. And that was 3A, B, and C, and they will all be titled Consider Approval of Personnel Actions. Did you get that, Ms. Nance? So that's the same for each one.
I'd like to add 12A, an update on the facility committee.
Did you hear that, Donald?
12A.
12A.
Okay.
An update on the facility committee.
I could give you
An update.
Okay.
That's 12A.
Yeah,
12A.
Okay.
We're trying to give you a heads up.
I got you.
Okay.
Any other? Okay, number 7, if we could add 7A, and we'll pull out policy 09.12, and that is emergency reading of non-resident student.
I would also like to add somewhere a special meeting for next Tuesday,
What's that date?
which would be July
5th.
5th. When would that be? Under,
Like 15A.
yeah, let's do 15. That sounds good.
Scheduled special meeting,
Yeah.
July 5th,
Yeah.
6:30.
6:30. Any other changes to the agenda?
I think
It's
that's
a
it.
lot.
Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
I have a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Wouldn't need in this. Is she
Can you
voting?
hear us, Megan?
Yes, I was in favor.
Okay. Motion passes 5-0. All right, approval of minutes for the May 24th, 2022, Clark County School District Finance Corporation, May 24th, 2022 regular and tentative budget meeting, June 1st, 2022 special meeting, work session, and June 17th, 2022 special meeting, work session.
I don't think I was at some of them, was
Nothing in late.
I? Huh?
You were not at the,
I should have checked that beforehand, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You were here on the 17th.
I was, huh?
You were here on the 17th.
Okay,
You were here on June 1st.
okay.
You were absent at the beginning of the May 24th.
The May
but you
24th.
arrived at 6:53. And you were absent at the finance department, so that's the only
So just the, okay, so
24th.
you'll have to pull it off separate,
finance.
the finance one.
the finance.
Pull off the finance
Yeah.
meeting. Okay, so, let's see, can we get approval for all of those meetings without the finance meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the May 24th regular and tentative budget meeting, the June 1st special meeting, and the June 17th special meeting.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. And then,
Make a motion to approve May 24th, Clark County School District Finance Corporation meeting.
A second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, we have student and staff recognition.
You're on 3A.
Oh, 3A, okay.
Yeah.
3A is personnel action.
Yes. Statement, it's you.
Is that my statement?
Yes.
Okay. Does it need to be discussion and approval?
No, it's not good.
It's just a statement, okay. Okay, at this time, I'd like to read a statement that the board and Dr. Molly McComas have tentatively reached an agreement for a mutual parting of ways effective immediately. The board thanks Dr. McComas for her service to the district and wishes her the best for her future endeavors. 3B.
Do we need a motion?
No.
Well,
It's just-
3B is personnel action I'd like to nominate Arlene Nance as temporary board secretary for the purpose of tonight's meeting. Just tonight. Promise. Pinky swear.
Are you okay with that, Arlene?
Just for tonight.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. 3C,
Item 3C is personnel action, which is in absence of the superintendent and the absence of the superintendent and chief academic officer, the next in command would fall to the director of would temporarily fall to the director of pupil personnel. That would be acting as the designee for the superintendent. So I would like to go ahead and put that in motion as
Is that interim?
Does that need to be-
until an interim would be placed or whatever board so chooses within the following meeting. So I would like to make a motion, I guess. Is that what you need?
Someone make a motion to appoint someone as
Okay. So I would,
superintendent's designee.
I would like to make a motion to appoint the director of pupil personnel as the temporary designee for the superintendent. Is that right?
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Now we have student and staff recognition. Who's going to help? Okay. Do you know that?
Okay, what do you want to do? Well, somebody's got to read you.
She always got the certificates.
Here, you want to read or you want to? Okay.
There's no information. Wait a minute.
Alright, this one is going to go to, there are 14 students that are on the GRC bass team, and they call, which up here, which is front and center.
Come on,
Tell us
Coach.
a little bit about them. Tell us what you've been going through this year. I don't think a lot of people know, so this is your place. So you can,
This is our 9th year at GRC Bass Team. Currently this year we have 27 members. This year we competed in 3 different tournament trails across the state, Kentucky Bass Station, Major League Fishing, and the Kentucky High School Athletic Association Trail. In the Kentucky Bass Station Trail, we had about 265 teams statewide. We was able to put 6 teams in the Kentucky Bass Station State Championship this year. We also qualified 1 team for the KHSA State Championship, which had about 450 teams in that series. And we also had a team that won the PBF Junior State Open for the state of Kentucky, that has qualified for the PBF Junior World Championship the last week of July out of Kentucky Lake on Prairie, Tennessee. So we've had a lot of accomplishments this year. We're really proud of the kids and really excited that they will be acknowledged because, like you said, a lot of people do not know that we have a bass team. These kids and their parents put in a lot of work, a lot of time. I've even got Mr. Stump going along with us, getting him up at 3 o'clock in the morning to do the cut. But I just want to say thank you to the board for allowing us to do this. Thank you to the parents and kids for all their hard work and support. And say a great job to the kids for the year.
let's go get this started. The KHSAA State Championship, which we had in the gun range.
Come on,
Yeah.
Come on, Nick.
Yeah, you go see her. Ethan Smith.
Stay up.
What they
Stay
have
up.
for learning. Kentucky Bass Nation State Championship. Played golf. Gunnar Willoughby. Oh, sorry, Dennis.
Grayson not here?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Can I get a picture?
Want to take a picture?
Tyler Henson. Bryce Alfred. Carson Hill. Is he your cheerleader? Clay Smith. Lewis Hall. Robertson. Katie Cornett. And Coach Billy Dameron.
Y'all want to take a group picture? Y'all want to come up and take a group picture?
What's your certificates up there? Nice job, y'all.
Good job.
All right, we are at Miss Bailey Howard. She competed in pole vaulting at the biggest middle school nationals in Greensboro, North Carolina on June 18th. A clear 3.18 meters. Placed fifth in the meet. So is Miss Bailey here?
Nice. I know. Amazing husband.
And we want to recognize our coaches, Monty Orchard, Rod Dixon, Michael Costin. Hey, is Dixon next to me? Okay, this one was sent in by Susan Bishop. And it says, it's exciting to see a community partnership come together. Easy Flow by Infiltrator is committed to investing in our youth. Grant and Blake are students in the Clark County Technology Center. They are both highly recommended by their teachers to be interviewed by the leadership of Infiltrator. They are participating in a work-based learning program this summer with an opportunity to learn as you earn. A big thank you to the dedicated team of leaders at Infiltrator and CCPS for their commitment to our future work. We appreciate you. Side note, they started last Monday and we received great feedback from the students and the management team at Infiltrator. They have been thrilled with their performance and the attitude of both of the students. Mr. Warner and Mr. Willoughby are the teachers that made the recommendation. Infiltrator has several departments that they hope they can support work-based learning programs for more students in the upcoming school year. We are hoping to bring more awareness of this program by notifying the Winchester Sun, Chamber of Commerce, and Industrial Authority. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Thanks for your help, Susan Richardson Bishop. She gave us some pictures. Grant McCoy.
And the two of them?
That's what
All right, time for public comments. Do we have any public comment? No public comment. Okay. We're going to move on to student support services. Consider approval of Kimmy Workman's Comp Insurance. Chris Parker. Thank you all for
Thank you for
coming.
coming.
We really
Thank you.
appreciate you all. Thank you all.
Okay, bass fishing and pole vaulting to workman's comp insurance.
Yes.
Okay, now down to the
stuff.
Hard
fun.
dive down, wasn't it?
Well, the guy's working though. That's how I started in this job at Winchester Insurance. I got
Was
out
an
at
intern.
GRC as an intern at noon or
Yes.
somewhere, and 20 years later I'm
Here
still
you
there.
are.
So that works.
It pays
Success.
off.
Yes,
That's
it does.
right.
Yes, it does. So I'm here tonight to give some good news on workers' comp. Workers' comp is driven by several factors. Number one, obviously, is payroll. So how much payroll you have, as payroll increases, typically your premium increases. Class of work. So we have three classifications that our workers fall under. And so that's the professional classification, which is pretty obvious, the teachers and administrators. Then we have the drivers. That's our highest rated class because that is our most dangerous. And then we have all other, so kitchen staff and any support staff that's not professional. And so you'll see in the chart that I've given you what the payrolls have been based on the past 2 years, based on raises and changes in grade and that type of stuff. That will probably go up for this coming year. When we have those numbers, we will upgrade this to reflect that. We have for several years worked with accident reviews, with safety committees, with initiatives from Dr. Parrish's office. Alicia's been involved, Mr. Stump's been involved. We have cut down on worker accidents. This keeps the teachers in the school, this keeps the drivers behind the wheel, this is good for everybody. So we're finally starting to see the fruits of that come to us. So when everything's going up, workers' comp is something that's actually going to go down for you next year. Your experience modification, which is a snapshot of how our district compares to other districts of our size. So a 1.0 experience mod would kind of be average. We're still at 1.37. We were over 2 several years back, and this premium was up $600,000, $700,000, $800,000. This is the first time in about 6 years, based on my notes that I have, that we've been under $400,000 for this coverage. So you'll see, but it does require us to change carriers. Liberty Mutual has it right now. You'll see that what their renewal premium was, and I worked with Kimi this year to give us a competitive quote, and it was extremely competitive, $82,000 less than the Liberty renewal. Kimi is an excellent workers' comp carrier. They specialize just in workers' comp, and they have been our workers' comp carrier here before. They will be involved in our loss control, and it's not going to just fall to us anymore. We're going to bring them in, and you remember Jeff Floyd when he came. So they have people that will come. They're based in Lexington, in the Lexington Financial Center downtown. They are the largest writer of school systems in the state. They're the largest writer of comp in the state. So I have no problem at all moving this coverage here. I'm very confident in them. To review the past year, we've had 67 total claims. That's a little deceptive, so that's why there's the little disclaimer on there. 44 of those claims are just reporting an incident, just in case anything ever came out of it. So 44 of those have had absolutely nothing paid. But that is exactly what we want to see. And we've got all of our people in the habit of reporting any incident that happens. That way, if a claim does arise, somebody's back starts hurting in a few weeks, we can at least trace back to some type of baseline report. And they've done an excellent job of getting those in. So we do have some open claims. I won't, for obvious reasons, use too much detail to describe these claims, but our largest one this past year was $75,000. It is still open, and due to the nature of it, it probably will be open for some time with the physical therapy that's going to be needed. So we only have 6 open claims right now. That is a testament to getting people back to work. And that's the whole point of this workers' comp. Take care of them when they're out, keep their bills paid, keep their medical bills paid, and get them back in the classroom as soon as possible. I think we've done that this year better than I've seen in many years here. So I have that report. Of course, it has names and information. We can talk through that anytime you'd like to. But other than that, it's fairly straightforward. And any questions you have about it, I'm happy to answer.
Is there any changes between Liberty Mutual and CUNY as far as the policy goes, as far as any sort of coverages?
The coverage is very, I don't want to say simple. I need to make my job sound harder than it is. So on workers' comp, it's very statute driven. Mm-hmm. So providers get paid basically the same from every insurance carrier. So the policy form is exactly the same. There is no difference at all in the coverage. We should see no difference at all in the way claims are handled either. In fact, it may be better just because we'll have people closer to here. Our claims adjusters will be in Lexington or working from home nearby.
Yes, that's a positive.
So no difference, no change.
Any other questions?
No more discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve CUNY workman's comp insurance.
And I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Number 7, consider approval of first reading of policy updates from KSBA. Dr. Parrish, is there anything that you have to add?
No, after review, we'll decide what
Okay.
revisions of
Okay.
I
Thank
read
you.
through the 90 pages
In her spare time.
in my retirement. It's so much fun,
They need to find you a hobby.
We do.
Is there a motion to approve? Or are there any questions?
Well, we do need to pull out we need to pull out policy 09.12. When we approve these for the first reading,
It's 7A.
Yeah, that's on
I
7A.
pulled
I
it
know.
out for 7A.
but if we approve the
Oh, I get it.
Approve
She's
the
saying.
first reading less.
Less.
less,
912.
make sure we have that wording.
Yeah,
And I'm
good
assuming
idea.
9122, right, Ms. Parrish? Yeah.
Okay. Does that make sense? Because if we approve it as the first read of the policy updates, we will be approving that
First read,
policy
That
within
policy.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good
It's
point.
semantics.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're making a motion.
You're
now.
making a motion.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the first reading of the policy updates excluding policy 09.12 and
And
09.22,
122, yeah.
122, the emergency reading of the non-residential student. The
Actually,
emergency-
1222. 32.
Let's get it right. It's 09.12.
And 09.1222.
2. Did you get that on? A lot of twos. Sorry.
Do I have a second? I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
We're all still counting our twos.
Motion passes 5-0. 7A, consider approval of the emergency reading of non-resident student 09.12 and 09.1222. Christie. Ms. Bush.
Every DPP in the state is probably doing this about this time. This is new territory for all of us because it has always been a policy and a KRS that you can accept students or not based on some criteria that the board sets. So the state legislators have decided that is no longer. It is an open border, and we take as many students or you take none. There's no number. You either have to accept them all or not. So under the 09.1222, you need to decide first if you as a board would like to have non-resident contracts with students that do not live in the Clark County Winchester boundaries or not. And that is the little small snippet that you have from KSBA.
What page is that
It is on,
I would like to refer to you, if I may, the word capacity. Capacity means that we must, as a district, keep seats available for growth. So if all of our schools are at maximum capacity, and we've done this with non-resident students, how are we going to accept the ones that live there? So we will have to come up with a formula that will be fair and equitable to all for what that capacity is going to look like. So if someone wants to come in and we accept them into Clark County, let's just say as an elementary student, they may say, I want to go to Stroh. Well, their capacity numbers may be set, and that is not a possibility because we have to have growth, room for growth. So yes, we will accept you, but you may have to go to Justice Conroe Shoot. So that capacity word is very important.
I have a question. So I'm trying to see if I can find it really quick. Is there an exception for staff?
Staff is a KRS already,
Okay.
so you can accept those students. Across the state in our DPP meetings, they are having tuition from 1,000 to 6,000, some in northern. We looked at, if you do accept it, we would like for you to entertain the $500. That is for a fee, not tuition. That is our Chromebook. That is any essential supplies that might be needed for the school level. But that, once again, that's your decision.
Do you have a number of non-resident students that we had last year? Can you throw out a number for us?
We roughly have 95.
95.
They can overflow a little bit.
Right.
95. So before we move on to the forms and the process itself, I think we need to
Have to-
start with whether or not you want to
Yeah.
entertain.
Any discussion?
what's your recommendation, Christie?
All about students. There's good and bad with taking families that possibly don't live here, but you have a lot of good students that do want to come and enjoy what we have to offer. And Clark County has so many opportunities for students, and hopefully they may choose to live here with their families eventually. But we just have to keep that capacity number doable because the students that live here should have it first.
Right.
Right.
And if it gets to the point that we're at capacity, do those automatically go back? If we were ever capped out?
If you accept, it's a year-to-year contract.
Okay,
So if you accept a student, they're here for a year,
right. Okay.
unless they were expelled or arrested.
But at the end of that year, if we,
Changed
It
it.
has to be a start contract all over again, application all over again. We do that already now.
that's what, okay.
But based on attendance, like if attendance is not good for those non-resident students, in the past,
We've been able to say no. Grades, if they're not on credit for high school purposes.
right,
Attendance is a big factor this year. It will matter down to our monies, and that's scaring every DPP to death.
Does this
As-
new policy
I'm
have?
so sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Does this policy have any effect on obligations for transportation for these
There-
non-residents?
We have suggested no transportation. Now, if a special education student has something on their IEP, that will need to be looked at for the exceptional child permit. And I just did our enrollment in case you wanted to know today before we walked in. We have 4,860 ready to come if today was the first day of school. And so far, plus 108 at preschool that have already enrolled.
So is that
So
above our
roughly-
projections?
I'm so sorry.
Is that above our projections that we had initially? I don't recall.
I'm so sorry, I don't
I
have
don't
that.
either.
Do you
I don't know if
remember, Alicia, what our projection was?
Right now, we're at 4,860 ready to come. Is that, I don't recall. It's not important, I don't want to put you on the spot.
It's below 5,000.
I
Yeah, it's
can run
below
to my
5, but I thought our
computer if
projections
you'd
was
like.
below 5,000 to begin with. So I was just wondering.
We actually ended this year with 5,108.
This was something.
Yeah, but we was projecting for budget purposes, I thought, a little less.
But we currently do this right now. We have non-resident. This is
We have
a
95
policy
students.
that we've done in the past. And it's worked well. I mean,
It has its moments. It's,
Yeah.
It all depends on the purpose that they come here for. If it's an attendance type of a situation and we know that ahead of time, we look at that.
well, can you make those stipulations?
Not with the new KRS,
Okay.
not till the end of the year.
Okay,
You can going out, but not coming in.
okay.
And so
We are, I'm sorry.
So do we not, I think the way I understood when I read it, we do not get the funding, the ADA for the student from the other district. It's not,
Yes,
We
we
do.
will if we don't charge a tuition that is.
that
like
will
some other
continue?
districts.
Okay.
We will get their
thought
monies
it-
from their district.
But-
And it's going to be a code and Infinite Campus is how that's,
Tracked? Okay.
But the 500 is in addition to the
To what we
tax
would
dollars.
receive. Okay.
Right, okay.
and the 500 came up from talking with Mr. Kaysen about how much, a Chromebook is.
Sure.
Because those are, difficult to keep up with even with students that live here. But once again, that's your choice. And that would be grandfathered in because we do have students that have been here forever and come every year and are students of UNC.
So would they
So
next
they-
year be charged the 500?
I would assume that they would be grandfathered in.
Okay.
But
So it'd be
again,
like
that's,
those that would be coming to the district as a non-resident starting this
after
fall?
this meeting.
Okay.
We do have applications already, so if you agree with this process and like this application from KSBA, then we would have to send that back out and explain to them the policy, because it is due July 1.
Gotcha.
So any student can apply for any reason to come here.
Yes, sir. And just
Okay.
as hours can go,
They haven't.
Yeah. Just,
My children were non-residents. Yeah. From Fayette at one time. When they were little. They actually made money for us.
and we have a lot of things to offer, and we are going to be looked at. I'm not talking about just athletics, but academics as well. We have a lot of things.
I think, yeah, I agree. I think we have a lot to offer, and if we can get kids to come here at a younger age, and maybe their families will come, locate here, and help as well.
So we're thinking yes.
Any other discussion? Do I have a motion?
Do we need a motion on
We
that?
have to have a motion, right? Because you have to choose one or
Yes,
the other.
one or the other.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Do I have a motion?
Well, I'll make a motion to allow non-resident students to enroll in the district pursuant to existing admissions attendance policy 09.12, tuition policy 09.124, and related procedures.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
And the next process will be about the application itself. We constructed a draft and sent it to KSBA, and they brought back the one that you have in front of you. Most important thing on it is to remind athletes that they must sit out on the varsity level. This will be the first process. It'll be a link with Mr. Kaysen in our office that if they choose to do this, they'll get on, fill this out. If
We
we
don't see,
don't,
we don't see
It's
that
in the
application.
procedures, not the policy.
09 point, it's in the procedure.
09 what?
09.12 AP.21.
I don't think we have procedures.
I think they're in a bigger
I think it's number
packet.
26, is that right, Mrs. Nance?
Oh,
Yeah,
that we're
26.
in our,
Item 26.
26.
oh,
Oh, that's right.
Do you want my copy?
Okay. No, I'm
26?
26. There it is. Okay, I gotta find it.
Starting on
The
page
old
40.
one was just one page.
40.
page 40.
Of 26.
This is kind of a big deal.
You'll see at the third page, it talks about at the end of the year, a non-resident student may be dismissed due to factors such as, that's where you talk about poor attendance, behavioral, and those type of issues.
If you transfer from a district to be a non-resident, you're ineligible to participate for one calendar year without a transfer.
In the sports, that's a tailoring. So that doesn't make it lucrative for them to transfer for sports. But that's how that policy reads, right?
But that's KHSA's rules, not
Okay.
the districts.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
There's nothing we can do. Page 40.
That's how I can do it.
Is that new, where they can't participate in sports for a year?
Number one, the notice, that's highlighted in blue, any student who transfers enrollment from a district or resident to a non-resident district shall be eligible to participate in interscholastic athletics for 1 year. But I do believe that's at the varsity level with KHSAA, if I remember reading correctly.
I think there's something in there already. But if somebody transfers, I'm not.
There's something about, transfer, if their family moves here, but these are students that would live
Yeah, outside.
outside.
If they live here, I don't think that would apply.
No.
No.
No, this is just non-resident.
That's all done by, set by KHSA, even if the district decides to do something different. Change the students' eligibility.
Would you like to compare it to the old, just to have it?
I'm okay.
But we'll approve that when we approve 26, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
because it's in the consent.
it is in the consent.
When you look at non-resident contracts, it's in every piece of, just about everything. Mrs. McCoy and I were talking about, it talks about tuition, admissions. It's a part on absences, I'm sorry, not absences, but admissions, registration, and tuition. That all has a piece of it. If you'd like to wait and ask questions till later, that's fine as well.
I don't think there's anything to do about it.
Okay. We're good? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, number 8, consider action and discussion.
Is there a motion to approve that emergency reading?
We did.
Okay.
We did.
You approved
Bill made the motion and Brenda second.
But no, there was a motion to allow non-residents. I don't think there was a
Oh.
motion to approve
Approve
in
the
9.1.
first reading.
Yeah.
And then
Or
we have
the
to have-
emergency reading.
Emergency reading. It's a
That was
one-time?
7A.
Yeah, I think you need a separate motion.
I think we do too,
To-
to just be on the safe side.
Approve the policy as written, because the first thing was that 9.122.
To allow them.
Okay.
And then the next would be approve 9.12 as an emergency reading. Is that accurate? Okay.
Can you say
Yeah,
that
or
again?
as they call it, emergency reading. So you've already had a motion to allow non-resident students per 909.1222.
Okay.
So now you need a motion to have to approve the
Approve the
emergency
emergency
reading of
reading.
0912.
Yes,
I know it's confusing.
it is confusing.
Emergency.
And the emergency reading allows us to do it a one-time
Mhm.
deal. We don't have to come back and have a second reading because of the timeline.
And KSBA has given their blessing
And
for
they
boards
have.
to do that, because they know
Okay.
it's a quick timeline.
It's a quick turnaround. Okay. I make a motion to adopt policy 09.12, emergency reading of the non-resident student policy.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Okay. Number 8, consider action and discussion of corporate educational partnership with EKU.
I read through it. It sounds like it's a great advantage for us to be able to offer that for the staff. I didn't see anything.
Yeah, I read through it. It looked like a great, and when we met with Dr. McComas, actually, she spoke real highly of it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you all have any questions, discussion? I have a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to, to consider action and discussion, wait, what are we on, 8?
Number
Yeah.
8.
Of corporate educational, to consider the action of corporate educational partnership with Eastern Education University.
Eastern Kentucky.
What I
We
say?
motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with EKU.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
What are you gonna put that into? Mindy?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
It's the way it's listed on there, it's gonna make a.
All right. Number
Motion.
12, consider approval of the construction documents for the Clark County New Early Childhood Center Project, BG 21-247. Mr. Stump.
Okay, this is, as you were expecting, the meeting in which we addressed the construction documents for our preschool program. Beyond the construction document approval, if you were to approve these documents tonight, they would be given to Codell Construction as our construction manager. They would prepare the packets, construction document packets from these drawings, and then put out the bids July 26th. Bids would be due back August 26th, so we would open them on the 26th and report back to the board either at the August board meeting or at a subsequent special meeting if you would choose to go over the bid results at that time. So this would just be approving the documents to pursue into the bid packets with Codell and put them out to bid on the 26th of July.
Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve construction documents for Clark County New Early Childhood Center Project BG 21-247.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. 12A, update on facility committee. Dr. Stump.
Okay.
Thank you.
Since last board meeting, we arranged a letter, sent it to KDE requesting their permission to reconvene our committee based on the rationale that the board chose to address at the last board meeting. Pretty quickly, KDE returned a letter back to us saying that they approve our process and reconvening our committee based on our rationale. Since then, we've been updating our facility committee. I sent out emails seeing who's available and who's still not available. We've had one individual that passed away since our last committee meeting. We've had a couple of principals who've left. They have been Clark County residents. So we've been in the process of replacing those positions. Today, I received notice of our last position to be placed on the committee was confirmed. So tomorrow I'll be preparing a document to send back to KDE listing the members that we replaced and the process by which we took in replacing those members and asking their permission to approve that committee. And once they do, we can begin the process of scheduling our first meeting. So I expect, and KD's been getting back pretty quickly on these things, so I would expect here in the very, very near future, we'll be planning our first meeting back for reconvening that committee. I've also spoken with KSPMA, which now conducts the facility planning process and contracts with boards to conduct the facility planning process. Used to be KSBMA, but now they turned that over to KSPMA, which is Plant Managers Association. And I spoke more specifically with Tim Eaton, who conducted our last meeting. And he informed me that the rate, if we chose to consider contract with that agency to facilitate that process, is $500 per day. We would have to, given the amendment process, we would have to conduct at least 2 meetings, at least 2 forums, 1 hearing. That's the minimum requirement for addressing an amendment. So a minimum of 3 meetings, which would be $1,500, plus mileage, travel for him to travel back and forth. If you wanted to go that route, or if you chose, I'd be happy to facilitate that process for you, but that would be up to you.
And that was Tim Eaton.
I'm sorry?
Tim Eaton?
Tim Eaton, he was the one that conducted our process last year, or the last
Right,
committee
the
meeting
last committee.
several years ago. Did a pretty good job, I think.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Number 13, consider approval of the revised BG1 and BG3 forms for the new Early Childhood Center project, BG 21-247. Mr. Stump.
Okay. I think there's this quote there. That should have been for the Shearer. No, I'm sorry. That's correct. It's Early Childhood Center. So we now, since we have the construction documents approved, we now have a revised BG1 that's in your packet that gives you an estimate of what the potential cost of the preschool is projected at upon bid. The BG3 gives it more in detail as to the exact costs that constitute the figures that carry over to the BG1. And another effort was to align the BG3 with the BG1 to make sure that they're jiving with the same figures. And you'll see that figure on the BG1 that's now projected to be what we're estimating come August for the bid, which is 21 something. So we'll see in August whether that's true or not. But we'd ask the board to approve the revision to that BG1 and the BG3 so we can send to KDE in anticipation of the bid process in August.
And in no way this still binds the board or binds the board to approve any of the bids that come in August.
You're exactly correct. It does not bind the board. You can choose to either accept the bids that come in or not. But it does cost you as you proceed through the process,
Right.
as I noted before.
Right. But we need to continue forward progress because if the committee comes back with the recommendation to build a new preschool, we don't want to have stopped the process, correct?
Absolutely, I would agree with that statement because we are trying to meet the pre-construction bids in September, in which typically most go out, and he's pretty competitive past that rate, as John Codell has explained to us in the past. So you're exactly right. Yeah, we're trying to meet that deadline.
So let's say something crazy happens and the bid comes in a lot less than what the BG1 is. Do we have to revise the BG1 to reflect the bid? Is that what?
Yeah. Whatever the actual costs come in for the bid, whatever one you accept, we'll do another revision to that BG1 to reflect the actual cost of the construction, yes.
I don't foresee that happening.
Well, we're crossing our fingers.
Yeah.
You never know.
You never know, I mean,
Find out though.
hold out, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the revised BG1, BG3 funds for the new early childhood center project, BG 21-247.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Number 14, consider approval of standard form of agreement between owner, Clark County Board of Education, and contractor, thermal equipment sales for the shear HVAC renovation project, BG 22-226. Mr. Stumpf?
Okay, just to briefly remind the board how we got where we are right now. You've already approved the contract with the architect engineer, which was Shop Tate Wilson. They've gone out and done the drawings and investigated the site to give some idea as to what needs to be done with renovating the HVAC system in that building. They've done a preliminary report on geothermal field out there, and now we're at a point where we're asking you to consider the contract with the contractor, which is Thermal Equipment Sales. Thermal Equipment Sales would be working as a GC or a general contractor for the project, which simply means they will be contracting with all subcontractors, not the board. Under construction management, you would be contracting with all those subcontractors. Under this proposal, you would not. Thermal Equipment Sales would be contracting with all those electricians, installers, plumbers, what have you. So you have in your packet 2 examples of a contract, because each of those 2 examples have different figures incorporated in them. When Shrout Tate Wilson conducted the evaluation on the geothermal field, they found some deficiencies in the field. I'm sorry, you have a
There's
question?
a lot of problems.
Some problems with the geothermal field. Right now we have 101 wells out there at 290 feet deep, and how, not to suggest that you don't understand how geothermal works, but water flows up and down those wells, all of those wells, and as it's flowing up and down those wells, it either generates heat to that water, or it extrapolates that heat into the earth. So as that water flow is critical, what they found was that our water flow was very low compared to what it was designed to do. So they started initially looking at cleaning filters and containers that could potentially obstruct that flow. They started working with a variable drives and those devices that control water flow at different locations of the pipe. And they found one that was pretty restricted, so they ended up actually almost doubling the water flow of the geothermal well, but it didn't bring the water temperature down to the degree that they wanted to based on the design capacity of what they were designing. The geothermal well was designed for roughly 146 tons, and the design of the HVAC systems in that building is roughly 186 tons, so it was about 40 tons. They're claiming undersized when we built the building back in the early 90s, right? So it was already 40 tons under capacity. And over time, that well deteriorates to some degree, and it creates grime and sludge in those pipes that kind of works as an insulator between the water and the ground, right? So their plan now is to flush all of those lines out to try to generate that, improve that conductivity between the water and the ground, put new variable drives in the pipe systems, but they're thinking that still will not be sufficient. So they're strongly recommended to the board that you consider adding 46 more wells, 350 feet deep, to the geothermal field in order to meet that capacity at roughly $400,000. So I spoke with the, I feel a little torn between recommending to you whether you do this or not at this point in time. So I called the engineers this afternoon and spoke to them about, because right now our water temperature is roughly 85, somewhere close to 90 sometimes, but it's fluctuating. And if we get to the low 80s, we're fine. We're not there, so we're only so many degrees away from being to the low 80s. Idealistically, we want to be in the 70s when it comes to cooling, in the cooling seasons between June and September. we're not there. Sometimes when they measured it before they did anything, we were up around 100, and these units will throw breakers at 100 degrees. They'll start throwing breakers and damaging the system. So we want to get at least to the low 80s. We're really not that far from low 80s. And they haven't yet flushed the lines, and they haven't put the new variable drives on there. So he's feeling that we could probably be okay with getting through the summer months this summer. But next year we have to reassess and make sure that we're getting that temperature full, because we could damage our equipment. So, but they're still strongly recommending, both the contractor and the architects, that the board consider adding these 46 wells at 350 feet deep to get to that 70-degree water temperature that would make this well work as it should for the 186 tons of equipment, 54 water source heat pumps that they're putting in this building. So if you're asking me for a recommendation, I'd be torn between saying do it or not. I would be okay either way. Right now, geothermal wells are very expensive. They're probably the most expensive that they've ever been. I don't know how they'll be in a year, whether the contractors will reduce their rates or increase their rates. But I'm pretty confident we can get through this year, but next year we'll have to look at it again. You know, we'll know a little more about our facility planning process at that time, so I'd be okay with waiting. But I'd be okay with getting the work done while we can too this summer, and getting those wells dug, and hopefully trying to get the contractors out there. But you have approved ESSER funds for this project, so I know we've talked about ESSER funds and how we might be able to use that $3.2 million you've got left in ESSER funds toward other projects. Another $400,000 would tap into that 3.2 ESSER fund project. So we bring it down to what, 2.8, if you wanted to do a geothermal well now. Or if you wanted to wait till next summer, we could look at other funding sources if you so chose to do that. I think either way would be fine, but that would be your decision.
So if they throw the breakers, does that cause damage?
If the temperature is in the hundreds and it continues to be consistently in the hundreds pretty frequently, it could cause damage to the new water source heat pumps that they're installing. That's a concern. But right now we're in the 90s, mid 80s, but we're not in the most month of demand. September is our biggest month of demand.
And
so,
there's no bodies in that building.
And there's no bodies in that building. It's an excellent point. And right now it's cooling, but they're 22 years old in that building now. And we're getting ready, after tonight, we're getting ready to get installing that.
So was the study, it was after school was out, correct?
The study? Yes. Yes, is when kids were not in the buildings.
Makes a big difference when kids are in buildings.
And when would they start the work of the wells?
Well, if the board approved the wells tonight, I contact them tomorrow to try to get in their queue.
And we could have that done before school starts?
I would hope so. But now, I was told the contractors are 6 to 8 weeks out in some cases, so that would be my only hesitation to say we would get it before the end of the year. But now, we could put the piping in and use the current well system until that other system was ready to go. So it wouldn't be like we'd be out of cool air. We could be working on that and still running the system in the school until that other well field was ready to bring online.
Does anyone ever check those to see?
Well,
when was the last time they were checked?
Yeah, we have 4 guys going tomorrow morning on training. Let me just say that we're doing that.
How many other geothermals do we have in the district?
We have a geothermal system at GRC,
GRC.
but it's only a partial system. It's
Okay.
not full geothermal. They have a cooling tower that supplements that system because it's not near as big as what Shears
Right.
is, but that's our only one.
Okay.
We were considering one for preschool, but of course, where we're at with that one. But so, I asked that same question, and the answer was we weren't really trained well back then, and we didn't know.
Right.
But now we've got 4 guys going tomorrow for heat pump geothermal well training in Louisville. But the units have lasted 22 years, so I mean that's the expected life expectancy of the heat pump is
22
around
years.
22 years. So
I
we've
think
gotten
it
the
was
use of
built
it.
in 99, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
So if we do this, does that add, I'm sure, longevity onto what
The
can we
geothermal.
expect
Well, I hope we get at least 20, 22 years out of the new system, which would take you to the building of being, 50, 60 years old. Now we're talking about a McClure, you know.
Yeah.
So I would hope at that time you'd be talking about building a new building, or pretty soon, building a new building to replace Cheer. But I think longevity-wise, the geothermal wells last a long time.
I think it's a good maintenance. I mean, you gotta consider, you've got maintenance on these kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the two options is one, make addition, add to the old system, correct?
Correct.
For $500,000?
You had, well, we're gonna do the prior anyway. We're gonna flush the systems out. That's part of the project that you already approved. They're gonna flush all the lines out, put new variable drives on all the pipes. We're already gonna do all that, and we think that will improve it some. You have really two other options. You have one to expand your geothermal well, the 46 wells that they're recommending, which is $400,000. Or we could put a cooling tower on the site, which is the number one recommendation of the architects, that we're not so supportive of, because cooling towers are very expensive to run and they're high maintenance. They consume a great deal of water during the seasons. But we put those on Strode and Baker and Concrite and Justice. We have cooling towers on those schools that supplement cooling, helps cool that water that's going through the systems, but they don't have geothermal wells there. But one of the recommendations was to put a cooling tower at Cheer 2, which was about $360,000. So there's about $40,000 difference between putting a cooling tower in the school or expanding your geothermal well. And with that $40,000 difference, we would strongly recommend geothermal option.
So explain to me this bid of $1.6 million that's in our packet.
Well, that is the construction cost for the project without adding the geothermal alternative. So let me get to that figure so I can.
Yeah, because the figure, and so that's, I guess I'm a little confused, because we got a base bid of basically 1.7 million, and then we also have a addition of 400,291, and then we have a district-wide BMS expansion for 100,266.
Okay, you're on the contract that only shows as the one alternate for 100,000. Is that the one you're on? All right, so you have a base bid of 1.699.
Yep.
And then 100,000 for the control alternate, which would bring your control systems from Concrite, Justice, GRC, and Cheer would all be on the same control platform as the entire district, which is Tritium. That's for a $100,000 add-on, and then that would be the only add-on on this particular option, which would get you to the 1.799. And then we have direct purchase orders where we're purchasing the equipment that's on site for the $584,000, and they deduct that from the overall, or they deduct that from the overall contract, which gets us actually contracting with thermal systems for the 1.215. Okay, and then on the next option, they're going to add 400,000 for the geothermal as an alternate, which gets you to the higher figures. Does that make sense? Still confused?
No.
Okay, how can I help you better understand?
What's the total cost of the project?
We have the BG1 that was approved for 2.1 million.
Okay, that's right.
But the 100,000 of that is contingency. So we can only spend 2 million because KDE will not allow us to apply that 100,000 contingency toward the cost of the project.
Because it's a federal
We have
grant.
to use that if we run into problems. But if we don't run into problems, you can apply that 100,000 over to the project. So you really have 2.1. And this first proposal is getting you to a total of about 2.2, not counting that 100,000 contingency. Because you have to count, this contract does not reflect the contract for Shroptape Wilson, which is your engineering fees too. And for the first project, without geothermal, it's about 140,000 add. For the other, it's about 170,000 add. So if you did the numbers on the first one, Bill, The total project cost, including the engineer fees, would be 1.939 million without the geothermal expansion. So you're under
The two.
2, and certainly under the 2.1. Now, if you do the other, the total comes to 2.269, which you're about 169,000 over if you take off the 100,000 contingency for that. So you would really have to apply another 169,000 of ESSER to get the geothermal well if we didn't run into any problems. Is that still confusing? Because if you can use that 100,000 in contingency, if we don't run into problems, then the geothermal well expansion will only cost you $169,000 more dollars. I say only. I mean, I realize it's a lot of money,
But if it can get you 22 more years, then
you just wouldn't have 3.2 to work with. You'd have closer to 3 in the end. And that's assuming we didn't run into problems that have to use that 100,000 contingency for some other actions.
like what kind of problems?
Like if you ran into piping in the ceiling that you didn't anticipate, that you have to cut out to get your duct work through. Or, see, we're taking all of the water source heat pumps from the outside walls of the classrooms and putting them in the ceilings. So they have to reroute all of the piping and the wiring, but it gives the teachers a lot more space and it doesn't have that air going out on kids' desks.
So when would this work happen?
I'm sorry.
When would this work happen?
Starting tomorrow, we already have the equipment mobilized, and we have a lot of the work already getting ready to start, so they would start immediately. Our plan would be to
Oh,
have
it's
all
completion. What's the,
our plan would have to have all of the heat pumps in the classrooms by the start of school, and then start doing your library, cafeteria, and your larger rooms after school started.
would
after
that,
hours. But those would still be online.
I was gonna say, would they still be online?
Yes.
And have cooling?
Yes,
Nothing worse than somebody not having a cool library.
this is true.
Well, I saw, contract states 300 days for completion.
And they do that because we don't know how far out the lead time is for some of our equipment. We currently have all but, I think, 12 units on site. We're still waiting on the units for the larger areas.
So that's just a cover.
And that's to cover them in the event that the lead time is much further out than getting the equipment. But we did buy a lot of stuff that was already in stock in the warehouse that'll get us through our classrooms.
Which one are you open on?
You're on 14.
It's on 14.
You all have any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I'm torn.
Me too.
There's a lot of documents here. I'd like to have some more discussion on this. Just one-on-one to go through, see, T's and C's. And we have a meetings
On the 5th?
on the 5th. Does it have to be done tonight?
Well, if we want to get started tomorrow, but the 5th is pretty close.
Yeah.
So I don't think a few days would make or break us.
Set that on the agenda for the 5th, just to read. Plus, we'll have everyone here up for,
Couple days? Is that okay?
can we table it?
Table it?
Make motion to table it till the
Okay.
5th. Sorry, I'm not comfortable to make a motion or.
Well, I would want you to be comfortable in the decision that you make, so I'm
I
saying.
agree with you, Bill.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Make a motion to table item number 14 until the July 5th meeting.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Thank you. Oops, hold your spot. Consider, number 15, consider approval of renewed contractual agreement with Constellation Gas for the provision of natural gas product to district facilities. Mr.
Okay,
Stumpf.
6 years ago, the board engaged put out the bid, the contractual agreement to purchase natural gas from a third-party vendor. At that time, I think it was 1992 actually, that the regulations allowed boards of education to purchase gas from third-party vendors as opposed to purchasing it directly from the vendor like Columbia Gas. And it resulted in a great deal of savings purchasing it through third-party vendors. 6 years ago, you received quotes from Constellation Gas and IGS, and Constellation Gas won the bid at $4.76 per unit. It was about 50 cents per unit lower than the competitor. 3-year contract you engaged in. 3 years later, the contract rolled over and was renewed for the same price per unit for another 3 years. Now we're 6 years down the road, and the contract ends in end of June. And the current rates are now, as of today, and I apologize for not having rates in your folder, but the rates that you are considering tonight are based on the rates today, so I had to get the rates today. So Constellation Gas is offered the current rates as of today. If you want to engage in a third-party contract with them again, the 2-year contract with Columbia, with Constellation Gas would be for $7.39 per MCF. Again, our last contract was $4.76 per MCF, so you can see the difference. For a 3-year contract, it is $7.39, the same rate. For a 4-year contract, $6.99, and for a 5-year contract, $6.99. So the best rate you could consider is $6.99, which is roughly $2 and some change higher than what you've been paying in the past 6 years. But Columbia Gas's rates is in the upper 9s. If you didn't contract with a third party, you'd be paying the upper 9s. So for consideration tonight, if you want to engage in another contract with Constellation, and you can without bidding, because the regulations say that if it results in some disruption of service, then you won't have to rebid it, you just renew it at these different rates. So you do have the option to renew that, or you could directly bid it out for them if you wanted to. But right now, we are without contract as of June 3rd.
And what's our rate right now?
Our rate, well, it ended. It was $4.76.
4.76.
That was,
I think it's because that's how much it's gone up.
Yeah.
$4.79, I'm sorry.
4.7, yeah, that's in
It was
your notes.
$4.79.
It's in the notes, I see it.
You've been for the past 6 years. Now the rate is $6.99 if you wanted to go with third-party rates. Now, we have about 5 schools that use natural gas.
I know, but then it goes up. It goes up. Yeah, it looks like it has. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Okay. Yeah, I mean.
It's worth, I mean, that's what we're talking about. I mean, the 4 years, same price as 5 years. So if we go,
There's no difference to do
because
an
there's no
extra
difference to do an extra year, but unless the rates go up.
Unless the rates go up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What was the rates?
For 6 years, it's been
Do
$4.79.
you know what the rates were a year and a half ago?
A year and a half ago,
Uh-huh.
well, we were getting it for $4.70.
That's
Yeah,
the contract.
But that was the
Yeah.
contract. I
What
wonder
was-
if it was
Well,
higher.
I'll tell you, 3 weeks ago, it was $5.39.
Okay,
So it fluctuates. It's going up pretty quickly.
yeah.
But last week, it was $6.49. So over the course of a week, it's going up to $6.99.
And what's Columbia Gas's 9 something?
Upper 9s. I think it was 9. I quoted it today. It was the upper 9s. Around 89.
Four.
I'll make a motion to approve 4-year contract with Constellation, $6.99.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Number 15A. Discussion and approval of a special meeting for July 5th. Have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Number 17, consider approval of monthly CCPS financial update. Ms. Ellis.
Hello.
So you've had a chance to review the PowerPoint, I hope. I just wanted to make a little asterisk note of the numbers provided last April. I updated those, put budgeted numbers instead of actual numbers, so I apologize for that. So there's your actual numbers there. We were still on track for what we have been this time last year. We've actually collected above and beyond on all of our taxes and our budgets, so that's fantastic news. Expenses were still right within 63%, or 60% this time last year, so and operations. Any questions on that? We see, with the supporting documentation, we just wanted to inform you of what the indirect costs would be. So I included that documentation to charge our federal grants and for our food service. We're gonna start charging that again now that she's back to full capacity, and at any point that we need to pull back from that, we will.
Okay.
As discussion with her, that her funds need to have that pulled back. And then the supporting documents that you normally see, any questions on any of that stuff?
I don't have any. Have you heard any projection on your federal grants for next year? Like, are they gonna be the same or
We
less?
literally just found, yesterday afternoon late.
Yeah.
I haven't
It's about
looked at
the
the
same.
number.
About the same, so I was
Yes.
afraid they might go down just
Yeah.
because of ESSER and
Right.
all
And
that.
they insinuated that, but it wasn't.
It
It's about
didn't?
the same as what it
Okay.
was last year. Yes.
Yes, sigh of
Yeah.
relief there.
Yeah.
I hadn't had a chance to see the numbers myself, so
Yeah.
she did tell me that late yesterday afternoon, we finally knew what they were. Unless there's anything else on
Does anybody have any
subcommittee.
questions?
No, I'm good.
I make a motion to approve the monthly CCPS financial update.
I'll second
All those in favor?
it.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
I've got some spectators, I'm sure you
I was
can.
like, oh my gosh, we've got some people talking over there.
All right, let's see, number
19.
19. Consider approval of fiscal year 2023 salary tables. Ms. Ellis.
So what you've been presented, anything changing was in red and there was notes. I was trying to make a difference so you could see what the changes were. So hopefully you've had a chance to review. And what is the simplistic way you want to discuss these or move forward with them?
These are reflecting the 3%.
This does reflect the 3%, yes ma'am. And that's noted in the green at the top of each thing,
Right,
that all
I see.
the rates had gone up to 3%.
You see?
Oh, yeah, I've got the computer and I got all kinds of
You
stuff
got
here.
this stuff, okay.
Yeah, I'm good. I don't know why I was over here looking at yours. Just want to be close to
You
you.
could trust me.
Any questions?
So with in light of what has occurred tonight, a lot of these changes are the superintendent's suggestions. So do we want to
You've got that.
revisit this on the 5th, but I need to start operations on July 1st. So what I would need is at least like operating how we are right now with the 3% raise so that we can start July 1 and start making paychecks on July 15th. And if there's any
And
discussion.
let us have a chance to look at this.
Let you have a chance to kind of digest what has been presented to you. If you want to keep any of these changes, make any other changes, and then we could revisit that on July 5th. If there's any changes you all would want to keep that's within here, but just to start my operations, that have to have the salary table declared to start July 1.
So you would go back to the 2021, I mean,
So
the
the-
21-22
Yes, 21,
salary
22
schedule
salary tables as this year with a 3%
with a 3%
increase.
increase,
And the food service.
And the new food, yes, and the new.
but
which
then
is the
allow
very
us to
last-
look,
Yeah, so the very last page of your packet is that new school nutrition food service table that we put together. that we had already discussed in a prior meeting. So current tables with a 3% with the new school nutrition tables. Oh, thank you, Betsy. So, after our presentation, so to the school nutrition table, if you all want to pull that up and look at it, the very last one.
Yeah.
Page 9, page 10.
Page 10.
I was gonna say, I don't know how many pages, isn't it? So you'll see in that ABC mark, just so you, to point it out to you all, when we had presented, we had done preschool and elementary, and then we had RDC and Baker together, and then GRC. But after kind of going back and looking at that, we kind of revised that and thought RDC is also responsible for Phoenix. They have to prepare all those meals and take them down there. And so it's really an extra school. Becky could probably
They
explain
also
more than I could
do,
do.
and really having an opportunity to think a little bit more about how that split was. With Phoenix being an added, responsibility for that manager, she takes on both, sets of paperwork for both schools, and that's daily paperwork and monthly paperwork. And it's ordering food, it's staffing Phoenix, it's dealing with, the requests from the principals in the school with field trips and stuff like that. All that stuff is added responsibility, and has been for years,
Right.
to this RDC manager. And so, as we were looking at this and trying to make it what I felt was right, that this feels like it's right, because there is an added responsibility to RDC that Baker does not have. They still have the same amount of students, but RDC's manager has those added responsibilities because of taking on Phoenix as well. So that's kind of where that thought process in my mind happened. And then also, but then taking that into consideration, and I thought, well, the high school still has a whole lot more, has more staff, and so that's where that change came in, because I didn't think they should be equal. So that's where I made that adjustment to what I felt makes the most sense and is the most just across the board based on responsibilities.
So those percentages changed for the
Just
meeting.
Okay,
like,
from-
yeah, a little bit, for
So
RBC
let's-
and GRC.
Okay.
Yeah, so
And your
let's-
budget can
Yes.
withstand it. Yes.
And so
really-
if we-
It really didn't make that much difference.
It wasn't
but,
that
you know,
much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So if we approve, like, if we do a motion that approves the 2021-22 salary tables for fiscal year 23 school year to include the 3% raise and the new food service schedule,
Yes, ma'am.
that allows you to get done what you need to do,
Yes, ma'am.
and then we can readdress anything on the 5th.
Yes.
Okay. Because that would give us time to look
Look,
at the changes, because that would have been shared with us.
okay. Well, I'll make the motion to approve the 21-22 salary tables for fiscal year 23 school year to include the 3% raise and the new food service schedule. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. 21, authorize payment of salaries and accounts payable.
About 20, did we table?
Table 20.
Yeah.
Did we table 20?
Yeah, table 20.
Oh, this is not
Just
on,
had 20 circled, so.
on 20, yeah, but I almost think you need two separate meetings on this. You're gonna put all this stuff back on the 5th, but if you're gonna be looking at doing other things, I think you're gonna have to have two meetings on those, or you're gonna really bombard yourself down.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like, because this is gonna be a lot of budget stuff and a lot of stipends and a lot of all this that we've gotta go through and just kind of clarify.
So maybe a work session where we can just take a look at it?
I don't know how to do it. I don't know if you go in and try to do anything else with the other situation on the
So
same
you
night that
want
you're
to
doing.
the table number 20, the stipend schedule, and then maybe what we need to do is just review the stuff that was tabled from this meeting, see what we have additionally, and consider another meeting.
Yeah. And do it on a meeting of its own and then start the superintendent, whatever we're doing,
Okay.
on its own. this should be separated probably into two separate ones.
Gotcha.
So you can focus, because otherwise you're gonna be just,
Yeah.
your eyeballs are gonna be turning.
Can you confirm that we tabled 20 in the minutes? We did?
Yeah, you said it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
20. I had it circled.
I missed it. I just want to
Okay.
make sure we
Yep.
addressed it.
Yep.
Okay.
But anyway, back to 21. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt that, but just the more that I'm listening to the discussion, it's like, oh, that agenda's getting really full.
Yeah.
Anyway, is there any discussion on 21? If not, I'll make a motion to pay the people.
I don't have any.
Do I have a second? Or you want to go ahead?
Who?
You've made a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Now we're on to the consent agenda items.
Does anybody want to pull anything off?
Let's see, 26. Do we have to do, we don't have to do anything with that 09.1222 on that?
No, that was a policy on the procedures you just
So we're good
ignored.
on that, okay. And then we're pulling 28, we tabled it. So we're looking at approving 26, 27, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, and 42.
Yes.
Does anybody want to pull anything off of those?
I don't think so.
Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
I'll make that motion.
Mrs. Richardson, may I please
Yes.
just ask, do you want to do the $500 fee for new students, or should we take it off? Because that'll be determining whether we send the new, application. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I need to know whether you want that fee or not. It's on the back page.
Oh,
Okay.
It's whatever you would like, perfectly fine, I just need to edit it.
Is that on the procedure updates? Back
Yes,
page
ma'am.
of the procedure updates, so.
Yes, ma'am, it's on page.
Oh, so we would have to leave 26 on there?
Hmm?
No, we already have
26
26
is
on
on
there.
there.
We're gonna
It
approve.
is 09.12 AP22 on the second page, number 9. I'm sorry.
And it's, what is it?
It's the $500 fee for the non-resident students to pay for the
Mhm.
Chromebook and
Any essential,
any essentials.
Supplies.
And
So does that need to be, because 26 is just acknowledging the procedure updates. And in that procedure, we're going to require $500.
if that's what you choose, or I can take it out.
Okay, but it's in there.
It's in there.
We
right
saw
now.
that tonight.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So we have to agree either take it out or leave it.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
The way I read it, it's first-time non-resident students, so it'd be a one-time fee, so they wouldn't pay it every year.
Right.
And we pay it every year, one time, yes, before school started.
And the
Oh,
way
they
I-
would pay it every year?
The way I read it, it says first-time non-resident students.
Beginning fee will require for the first time non-resident student. I think what that meant is the students that are already non-resident right now are gonna be grandfathered in,
Okay.
if that's what you so choose.
So are you going, is it an annual fee
Mhm.
of $500?
Now, it
I still think it could be read $500
The purpose of
your
that
first.
And let me-
was brand new to the district, but it can be reworded however you wish. That was just our thoughts.
Yeah.
What does the
Is there like no
annual?
in between? Does it have to be 500?
What item is it?
It's 26.
Number 9.
Number 9.
On the second page, 0912.
Page 44.
AP22.
Page 44.
And it's also down on number 14, it says that school employees will not pay that because there is a KRS already in existence for staff.
I'm back to using yours again. I shut mine down.
They do have to fill this out every year.
It does say an annual, beginning with
So
the
you might
22-23
switch the wording.
school year, an annual $500 computer and supply fee will be required. But then it says for first-time non-resident students. Because that's confusing. If it's an annual, then it wouldn't be for first time. You would have to say,
Just for non-resident students.
yeah.
Got the first time.
But you're wanting to
You're right.
grandfather in those that are already here, so I see what you're saying. It maybe should say, beginning with the 22-23 school year, first-time non-resident students will have an annual $500 computer and supply fee.
And $500, do you think seems excessive? Is there another figure that would cover us,
Because if you
but
had
still
3
not?
kids, it'd be $1,500.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I just think,
May I ask Mr. Kaysen?
yes,
Mr. Kaysen, Chromebook is, the
The-
Chromebook itself is $270.
and so what's the other?
Essential fees that a school might have,
Right.
if you wanna take it down to 300, or you don't have to include a fee at all.
I mean,
No,
like,
I like
mine
the
didn't take it home. Mine did not take their Chromebooks home once they went back to in-person.
Every principal does it a little different.
Yeah, I am just, from,
And we have had some schools that have had to file charges for stolen property, not a lot, a few.
could they not be treated the same? Stolen property? What's your luck with that?
You got any luck with filing charges for certain schools?
Everybody's looking
I
at,
think-
I think if they live out of town, I think you're better off to put a fee for the Chromebook on it, because if they live out of town, they're gonna be gone, and we can file charges here, but if it's a juvenile, there's 9 times out of 10, they're not gonna serve anything on them in the county somewhere.
And we can only track, on the Chromebooks, we can only, if it's taken off campus, we can only get a general idea
Okay.
based on
Right.
the address of where it's located. So
Mhm.
that's not super accurate, so once they leave campus, they're only going to track.
Right.
We had some that were forward, that disappeared because we had to live in.
you didn't wanna go on a road trip and get them? We signed you up, did you not get the memo?
No, I didn't get that.
But that's for residents too,
But
you know, I mean,
Christie's right, that we really haven't had that, this is right, we haven't had any issues of just total loss of
Well, I would be in favor of them paying, for the Chromebook or some kind of deposit. And then if there are other school fees, if they could do those through the school.
School.
And that way it doesn't seem so excessive. What do you all think?
$500 just seems a little high.
Mhm.
I mean, I get it, they're transferring.
Mhm.
You got a fee on it, why not give the money back to them when they come home?
Yeah, a deposit and
I
so.
like that.
How hard is that to track?
Then you have to-
Alicia's like, oh, that's an accounting nightmare.
You would have to have almost like an escrow account
Yeah.
for all that.
Yeah.
It works in the business world. Maybe not for schools, but.
There's no way to say, okay, what is everyone doing around us, because some
Everybody's-
absolutely nothing,
Yeah.
some are as high, like I said, $6,000, and not even
Yeah.
It's their purpose of not
Right.
having non-residents.
Sure.
I like the idea of putting a cap on a family. Like, if they've got 3 kids coming, say, not to exceed 750 or something like that. I don't know what y'all's thoughts are. I mean, that's a lot. But if they want to come here,
That's right.
I mean, it's, there's a reason for them wanting to come to Clark County. We got to protect our assets too, and not just give our assets away. Because, I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
I mean, they could just walk to another county and we never get them.
Yeah.
Get those assets back. And think there's gotta be some fee, you know.
Instead of putting a flat fee on it, could you just say that we're gonna pay for the cost of the Chromebook, and then whatever, when the order's made for the Chromebook, it's whatever that costs, I mean, that cost fluctuates. On the cost of the Chromebook. We're just saying we're gonna, like, that's part of it, is we're gonna pay for the cost of the Chromebook.
So then what do you do when they pay that? Do they keep that Chromebook or do we turn it in?
I would say that,
I like, yeah, let this be theirs and their responsibility.
Or what if we just told them they're responsible for having their own Chromebook?
Yeah,
They're
but you know,
non-residents.
maybe they bring
you
their
say
own.
they have to buy the Chromebook and pay for repairs, necessary repair, but word it somehow that they're just buying the Chromebook for use.
Yeah.
So what if they bring their own Chromebook? Can they do that?
You all approved a couple of years ago, it's essentially that same thing, is, you know, there's a total loss of the Chromebook, it says on page 2 or 3.
Right.
We will pay damages for the full replacement of the Chromebook, so it's not like, that's not a good time.
Right. What if we required them to have their own Chromebook and it was not district property? Is there?
Run into security issues then.
That would be difficult in a lot of ways.
Okay.
Specifically as far as managing, like we couldn't push out, like, you know, do map testing, like the equivalent of map testing. We couldn't track where the Chromebook goes. There was
Right.
password issues.
Well, because it would be on school property and it would be theirs.
Yeah,
So that's an issue.
it would work, it would connect to our network, but it would be really hard to understand.
Yes, I got it.
You couldn't show what they had
Yeah,
in the
you can't
background.
monitor that because it's theirs.
No, but I like that. If they just buy their own and it's theirs, then they can do whatever they want to do with it at the end.
They're gonna have our software on it. You're gonna take it and you're gonna wipe our software off of it? I mean, that's another that's a
I
management
say
nightmare.
charge them something to recoup the cost, half of what it cost or 3/4 of what it cost. And
How hard is it to wipe the software? Because I know at one time we talked about refurbishing and giving them out at the end of the year.
So you can't really refurbish
About
full
$250.
software, it's limited to almost limited to a certain number of years of use.
Yeah.
But if there's issues, and what we're talking about,
It's $250,
if
Yeah.
there's some sort of, like, the software, we can
We've had 3 kids.
wipe it, and sort of
I know, it's true.
Yeah, because I mean, I know when we first started getting into this, we said we would like to, when we're getting ready to replace them, just hand them to seniors or whatever to get them started, which we would have to clean them out too, right?
Yeah, that's what we're planning going forward next year.
Next year?
Can we change the Dana fee to be $250 instead of $500?
yeah, I think that's reasonable. Ashley, what do you think?
And you said a new one costs $270?
The new one costs $270, yeah, that's without extra damage.
I mean, I think you could do that, but I mean, why not?
Getting the ADA from the district as well.
Why not give them the option to let them buy their own? If they're a freshman, they can take it with them all the way through, instead of having them pay that every single year.
You can't manage it if they own it.
He just said you could.
Guardian, I believe, are not that one person computer, and we cannot, as in the staff, use the Guardian.
You present all sorts of issues if it's a personal device, if you want to look at their personal device, I would think. Yes, the device has to be our device.
You said that created a lot of problems if it was their own Chromebook, correct?
It creates a lot of problems.
Right. If they're their own, but if they bought it through you,
And we are gonna be collecting the,
because in 2 years he said they're going to start
is it
giving them out.
the reciprocal district funding from the other district?
It was only one time.
No, not when it comes to Chromebooks, but I'm just saying, let's say I have 2 students and I live in Madison County, and there are gonna be non-resident contracts here. Does Clark County receive the Madison County funding for them?
Yes.
Yes, now, on your pets and stuff like that, I don't know how that works.
But it's not like they're coming here for free. I mean, we're getting, you know, their tax base. So it's not like, I mean, that's what I think, you know, if you charged them $200 per kid, then you're gonna kind of recoup some if you lose a Chromebook, but you're getting district funding for them, and trust me, if they're coming from Fayette, we're gonna get like $10,000 a kid versus $4,200 a Clark County kid.
Yeah, we do it on some different stuff, but if we're only charged $250 on the difference, the loss that we have is
Right.
really
Right, it'd be small, wouldn't it? Okay. So if we did $250 and you capped it out.
that would be fine.
Were you covering around it?
Well, I mean, it would just be $250 per child.
One
Per
time.
year.
Per
One time.
year?
A one
Per time
time.
or 1 year?
I think one time. I mean, if you've got a freshman and he goes through to a senior, a one time.
Probably the last about 4 or 5 years.
Right.
Yeah. I'd say one time.
I would
250
sug-
one time.
I would suggest reword it then, instead of an annual, beginning with the 2022 school year, a one-time fee of $500, or a one-time $500 computer and supply fee,
One time 250.
instead of annual or
Yeah.
percentage.
One time 250.
If that's the change you want to make.
Yeah.
I think it'd be
A
clear.
one time, 250. Is that what we're thinking?
I'm okay with that.
Well, I'm just thinking. It cost me $1,000 to get all mine.
Your academic career change.
I know, I'm just saying. I mean, that's a lot.
It is a lot. It's a one time fee.
This is when you don't mind if you have us reword that, we can send it out and let them see it with
Sure.
proper wording,
Sure.
approve it with that change.
Everybody's sure.
If somebody's come here, they're gonna pay the 250. There's a reason why they're gonna come. I mean, I would think.
It's because of you. It's because of your college. They've seen the memo. You're awesome. If that's what y'all want, I want Dang Blair. My kids are gonna be here regardless.
You're more than, I mean, you can do that too.
Well, I
This
think
is
if,
new for everyone.
well, I think if you're gonna do a new policy, do it now. Instead of waiting and then all of a sudden you add it and they're like, well, you didn't do it last year. I think you've got the new policy and procedure to support it this year.
So if we put a hardship clause in there, you know, it's 250.
Oh, gosh.
You know,
What happens if they come in, they're free lunch, free?
250, and let's go, let's move on.
okay, I'm good with that.
So one time for their academic career here in Clark County, $250. And the students that are already here are grandfathered. Those
Correct.
things, correct?
Yes.
Brenda's hardcore. Come over here with no groceries. It's just like
Hungry.
It'd be interesting to see if you get, if as time goes on, if you get feedback or if we get feedback on if that 250 is creating an issue. And then, yeah, and if it is, I guess we could always go back and address it.
Do we have to make a motion for that change?
Probably because it's on the consent agenda as is.
As is, and
So
it's in the
approve the
policy.
consent addition,
I mean, in the
agenda
procedures.
with the exception of changing A,
Would that have to come
B.
back to us?
I don't think so, because it's not required numerous readings.
The fee itself.
I just
No,
Just pull it
change.
separate.
Yeah,
Can we
pull
pull
it
it
off.
separate? And
Yeah.
approve the procedures with the exception of, I don't even know what number that is.
0912 AP 22.
Sounds like a Brenda motion.
With the changes
Change
to
the
the procedure.
Change paragraph 9 to include a one-time fee of $250 per student for first-time non-resident students.
Yes. So if they're already here, non-resident, they're not required the $250 fee.
Correct.
Are we gonna require staff members to pay the $250 fee?
Replace what?
Are we gonna require staff members to pay the $250 fee?
I think there's a separate KRS exempting them from.
It's number 14 that says no, unless you want to.
So they're
change that.
exempt from any fees or tuition. Okay, just
No,
checking.
I'm pretty sure it's.
I'm changing it, you're being all hardcore over here.
No, I just want to make sure that we don't.
I'll bring you a gangster hat
Of
next
course, we'll
time.
have to change it to say 250 because it says 500.
Okay,
But it is number 14.
okay. Just making sure.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve, well, we don't have to, it just says acknowledge procedure updates, with the exception of
09.12 AP
P
22.
22, to include for first-time non-resident students, a $250 fee,
One-time fee.
one-time fee.
I'll
Did you get
second.
that, Arlene? Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Bill.
I'll second.
Mhm. Okay, something new that we've added,
You gotta do your consent agenda. item.
Yes.
Yeah, we just did consent.
You just did one.
No,
Oh,
we
just
did
one?
all of them.
We did all of them and
One.
included your change to that one.
Huh?
Yeah, she
No,
did.
I think I just did 26, didn't I,
Yeah,
by
she-
itself?
Before we did that, though, I thought that we did,
No, we pulled it off before we did the others.
Well, maybe just to be safe, do all the others.
Let's do, yes.
Make your motion again, Brenda.
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda items 27, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, and 42.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Consent. Okay.
No, Brian.
Now to the board member kudos is something new we've added, and we wanted to give board members an opportunity to have a moment to say something about the district, and so I'll go first to kind of let you know what we were thinking.
Okay.
But I just wanted to give a shout out to Tony Mann's class that I got to speak to last week, the RDC Congressional Academy. They were a great group of kids. It was very exciting. They asked a lot of questions. They're talking to, they're having members come in and speak to them. And it goes from, I guess, from a state level down to a local level form of government. So I got to speak to him as a board member and let him know, you know, how it works and what we do and topics that we talk about. And they were a great group of kids.
That's nice.
So, yeah.
nice.
And also got to attend the FFA breakfast yesterday morning and see the FFA kids and what they do, and we've got a really good group
Strong
of
FFA.
kids.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And their honey is delicious.
I'd like to go next.
Okay.
Okay, because my kids are going crazy. I just want to take time to thank everybody that's employed at our district, from the bus drivers, the janitors, to principals, building leaders. It takes everyone working together and on the same team to really be effective and do right by these kids. And every single person plays a major role in that. And I think we have a great team across the district, and we have great potential. And there's always other options to go somewhere else to work, and, you know, competition. And I just want to thank everybody for giving Clark County your all. It doesn't go unnoticed, and it means a lot. And we've really noticed it a lot lately. And I've been really surprised, not really surprised, just excited about the team we have and thankful for them.
Awesome. Anybody else?
I'll go. I would like to give a huge, huge, huge kudo to Miss Arlene
Yes.
That
Ditto.
that she, I'm looking at her and I'm like, she looks like she's getting ready to stab us with her pen at any moment. We've changed her agenda, we've done all this, we've emailed her, and I mean,
Pulled her in on her
yes,
day off.
you have no idea what a huge blessing you are to us and so many people in this district and so many people in this community that I go out and they're like, oh, we love Arlene, you know Arlene, like everybody knows Arlene. You are Clark County in so many ways. So I really, really, really want to thank you for everything you do. And like, if it was up to me, we would have National Arlene Day. Because you so deserve it for everything. Ms. Dr. Parrish, is she still in here?
She is.
I just want you to know that I have gotten numerous phone calls about what a wonderful job you do from our principals. They say that you have been life-saving on a lot of things with them, and they don't know what they would do without you, and you are top-notch in your job, and they are extremely, extremely grateful for you. Thank you. Christy Bush, I've got numerous calls on you, that if there's a, I know, it's okay, Christy, it's a good
All
one.
of our kiddos. She's just gonna go through all
Take
the
'em
kiddos.
all,
Take them
doesn't she?
all.
I can't help it, these are calls I got. I'm still on 'em. Christy, numerous calls on you that if there's ever a child that needs help, in danger, whatever, something's happened, like she's the first one in the district that knows she's on it, she's there. She's able to notify the principals. She's all over it. So they are truly, truly grateful for you as well. And they wanted to make sure that you were recognized for and known that they do see what you've been doing. Okay, I'm done, Bill, go.
Well, I'm gonna leave you for last.
I don't have any.
I know, actually.
I didn't know anything about
I
this.
did Tammy, Arlene, and
Just
Christy.
kind of real quick, I did have the opportunity to talk to a few people in transportation this past week, and even a lot of people don't know both my parents back in the day drove a bus, so and so there's a little place in my heart for them down there. They don't get a lot of recognition. They do a great job, from the bus drivers to the mechanics, and I know, like everybody in the district, they're overworked, understaffed. So kudos to them for fighting through everything this past year, and they're just they're one part of our district, but an integral part, just like all the other departments are.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, water, best.
That's okay.
I don't have to have a kudo today. Do
No,
I?
no.
I do appreciate everybody. I mean, you know that. I feel like it takes so many people to make it happen. And there's so many people behind the scenes that do it every day. And I spent some time with transportation too, because one of my former students is there, and it's nice to see them come home and work here. And I want Clark County people to work here. That's important to me. So I appreciate everybody. I'm sorry, I didn't realize this was on the agenda.
Surprised you.
It's a
Sorry.
surprise, but I'll have a kudo next month. I will not be without a kudo.
And let's give kudos to Arlene for coming up with kudos.
Was it you?
Yes.
Of course.
I will tell you, I do want to share something, because I think people do get aggravated with me because I don't read emails very often. And one is, I'm retired, okay? And two, I'm still getting all the emails that the chief academic officer gets, because I am still on distribution list. And I don't know, JC, we've tried to work on it. It's some better, but like if I open up my email, I average around 60 to 70 emails on my Clark County board email a day. And so to go on my phone, because I'm not, I'm retired, I'm having to go through there and I'm like, oh Lord, Arlene has emailed 4 times yesterday. So I don't know, Justin, if there's a way so that I would only see like emails from
Arlene.
board, like board emails.
Maybe
Change
add
your
a 1
email.
or a 2.
Yeah.
We've
Change
talked
your
about that,
Yeah.
like,
Change your email.
I know, you've told me that before,
Brenda
but
won.
coming in is a big deal for me.
Because why? You're retired.
Sorry. That has nothing to do with this, but
She gave herself a kudo.
if you email me, text me and say, I've emailed you, okay? Then I know to go check it.
Well, then she'll email you and say, I've been stuck in my basement.
But thank you all.
Text me
Yes.
so I can go check my email.
Yes,
That's
go.
right. Yes, and thank you, Becky. We know you've put in a lot of hard work, and we really, really appreciate that as well. All the late night calls of Becky, her poor little kid talking to us.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Yes. I
Do I
second.
have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you all.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bill and Brenda, I think.
Preschool, middle school.